over the web on the phone that we'll be calling on. So those of you who are council members already know that.
Aren't these mics just, yeah, they're just automatic.
They're automatic. Don't you have to turn this on? Oh, no. Okay, so everybody just try your mic before we get going.
Test.
Hit the red.
Testing.
Yours wasn't.
Hello?
Test. Test. Yep.
So Steve, you're going to get introduced. For those of you who don't know, Steve, you're going to get introduced, and Mike, you could even be over here,
Hello.
whatever you want to do, in case you need to speak. Or are you guys going to just share a mic?
Yeah.
You do where you want
Or
to
you
go.
can just hit it again.
All right.
It's not. Oh, there we go.
Feel a little. And we tell you guys when you're going to start the meeting, right? And then go. Then you point at James and he will start the meeting. James, are you ready?
Yeah.
I can't wear my glasses. You guys are so far away. He gets, hello. No. What?
Ready to go? Okay. Welcome everybody, and we'll get started with the roll call.
Janelle Brandon.
Here.
Larry Seljevold.
Here.
Laura Caroon. Valerie Ritlin. And
Here.
Sebastian McDougall.
Here.
Gia Rossier.
Here.
Lindsay Schunack.
Here.
All right. We'll move on to recognitions, presentations, and introductions. One thing I just want to mention, actually, before we really get started, is that we do have a rather full agenda today, so we will try to keep a good pace of things. But yeah, let's get started with our recognitions, and we'll start with Hope. And is it Thier? Okay, perfect. Hope Thier, our new Parks Office Specialist. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or say hi, or if that's good enough, whatever your preference is there.
Yeah, hi. Nice to be here.
Randy went up to the engineering office, so Hope just started with us a week or so ago, 2 weeks now, maybe.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well, welcome, and thank you for being here. And then we have Steve Iverson, who is the new Director of Public Works, and who replaced Steve Moore. So if you want to just say hi or introduce yourself or whatever you want to.
I have a face for radio, but I'll take the microphone anyway. Steve Iverson, Public Works Director for just about 3 months already. Glad to be engaged with this group. You know, part of my getting acclimated and my feet under me has been spending some time with Holly. There's a lot of good things going on and a lot of things on the horizon that we'll be happy to be part of with our park maintenance component of Public Works. A couple familiar faces, obviously a couple very familiar faces to my left here, but good to be here and good to finally put a face to the name because we've crossed paths a time or two in my past life. So
Yeah. No, so it's good to have you here and good to see you, and appreciate you being here. So let's let's go on to the meeting minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion. I assume everyone's had time to review the meeting minutes. Entertain a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
So moved.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second. Approve by signify by saying aye if you approve.
Aye.
All oppose.
Aye.
I'm guessing that was just getting in the aye or the approval, and I jumped the gun on the oppose. So motion passes. And next we'll go to citizens addressing the board. And just to clarify, if you are not here to address the board, or if you are here to address the board on a specific agenda item, that time will come a little later in the meeting. But if you have something to bring to our attention that isn't on the agenda, now would be that time. I don't believe we have any sheets filled out for non-agenda items, and I don't see anyone jumping up, so I'm going to assume that we can move past that. There's no one online. Okay, perfect. Let's go to agenda amendments. As far as I know, we don't have any, but does anyone have any amendments to the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to topic of the evening, item 6, which is the disc golf course and river corridor discussion. And I will start off with Holly and reps from the Park and Rec Department to kind of get us up to date on what's going on there and what's happened to date and what needs to happen this evening. So take it away, Holly.
Well, good afternoon, members. I'm here to give you an update on the disc golf course that we relocated some baskets out of Riverfront Park that were previously set up there. Basically, that course didn't work out very well because we did a lot of prairie restoration with Audubon, Dakota. And so you cannot mow that. So a lot of the discs were being lost and that area is being left more wild. It's on the inside of the curve for the river, so a lot of flood debris hits that area, and it didn't ever prove to be a very good location along the river for a disc golf course. So we took the baskets out, and a few years ago we discussed it at Park Board, but they were removed looking for just that perfect location that may work to reinstall at some point. Since that time, the COVID-19 hit, and there was a huge effort to bring more people outside, to get them more activated, and to do things that they could do on their own without having groups. With that, disc golf has expanded, and I will let them talk to you about that a little bit more as far as the popularity of disc golf. But they've been asking for some additional disc golf course and for it to be a little bit more difficult. The course that's set up in Woodlawn is more of a beginner's course. This is more of a professional course, harder and more difficult. So just like when we put the cross-country ski trails in that area, there were no homes on that side. And so we mapped out a course with the help of the Disc Golf Club. And we installed the baskets that we have had in storage for a number of years. Since that time, neighborhood folks from the Woodlawn Park neighborhood have come in opposition to having additional disc golf in that part of the river corridor. Basically, the disc golf course in that area is about 0.55 a half mile approximately of the 22.1 miles along the river corridor. It's down from the power plant site. I did attach a map for you guys to look at. This is also an area where the Midtown Trail is going to be coming through in 2022, we hope, with finishing up all that construction in 2023. We stopped putting in kind of the signage that said hole markers, and then some of the signage that was not only course rules, but course etiquette type of things, just until we could look at this topic from due to the neighborhood concerns, we just stopped finishing the installation. So when we decide tonight where we're gonna move forward, we'll add all the garbage cans. Some of the comments that you'll see included a lot of, well, we're seeing additional garbage and so forth. The disc golf group has offered also to adopt that part of the river and to do river cleanup. They were going to do that, but we just thought everything should just be put on hold until we are so close to a park board meeting, and let you guys give your comment and let the citizens of Moorhead kind of weigh in on that. So the first attachment is a map of that space. Included in your materials is also a disc golf petition that the disc golfers assembled. You'll see on the very bottom on the last page, it talks about how many are from Moorhead, how many are from the metro area, Fargo, Dilworth, West Fargo, and then how many people are from out of town. The folks that didn't fill in their city could well be from Moorhead or Fargo, but they didn't fill that part in, so we considered them as being out of town when we took those counts. on the bottom. So the count is a work in progress, let's say, or it is subject to some change possibly. But, and then you will also see the comments that came from the neighborhood. Some of those folks will speak to you tonight, and these are what they submitted in either communications to us by telephone or by the web comment form that came into Parks. They have not been edited. They come to you in their entirety, all the comments that came in. So really the decision, we've looked at a number of areas along the river, and this was by far the most open space. The other spaces had either Audubon sites for wood, for woods and prairies and natural grasses, and this particular site gave the most opportunity to connect in with Woodlawn. In regards to Woodlawn Park, I just want to mention there's been a number of improvements in that park as far as the neighborhood amenities. So the basketball courts are kind of new within the last 5 years. The picnic shelters, and there is in this area playgrounds and so forth. There's also the Heritage Garden and Amphitheater that we hold concerts at and so forth in Woodlawn Park. So the neighborhood amenities are in that park, so that's why we thought this would be a good location, because there's opportunities in close proximity to this area other than just the river corridor. And when we looked at moving it down the river, we looked, and there were some homes on the river side that are still there in all these areas. There are also not close to neighborhoods, neighborhood amenities, so we think we will have the same kind of response as we move down farther. But it really is up to you to hear the citizens. I want to call Jordan Clemenson to the microphone. He is our park program supervisor, and he worked with the disc golf guys to kind of design the course, and then Mike and the park maintenance guys here put it in. But just wondering if I've missed anything. And as far as the exact details of the course, I'm going to let him respond more to those things. But Jordan, did I miss anything?
Again, and why the location was good to pair with Woodlawn is because the number of baskets we had at Riverfront Park were 13. So it's not enough for its standalone course. And so we were tying in with the old Woodlawn course. So no matter what, you'll start off on holes number 1 and 2 on the old course. And then from there, you'll have the option to go number 3 on the old course or cross the road and go to number 3 on the new course, play through 15, and then come back and join up with the old course. And then we share a couple holes to finish off. So essentially, to save money, we didn't have to purchase any additional baskets, and we're utilizing what we had in storage. The tee markers that we were going to use for the tee signs were salvage materials from when the outdoor hockey rinks were renovated a couple of years, so they saved all the railing from the fence around the outside of the rink, and so all that material was repurposed. The only materials that were purchased right now were the post for the actual baskets, and I believe that was just over $600. And then the quote for signage for both the old Woodlawn course and the new course were coming in at $2,500 to outfit both courses with signs total. So for about $3,000, that would be the total cost of actual expenses. Obviously, there's some staff time and other things in there, but as far as purchasing materials, it would be about $3,000. Yeah, and then just want to note that we've been working with the disc golf clubs for the last, 5 years or so with the start of our Frostival winter event. We've partnered with them to do a winter tournament the last few years. And that's been one of the most well-attended sporting events for Frostival. This last year we had about 70 people registered to play, people coming from all over. 2 or 3 years ago we had a group from Winnipeg. We've had people from Sioux Falls, Fergus Falls, Otter Tail, Grand Forks, Jamestown. So it's a deal for people to come here to play. It's a really unique thing to have our disc golf courses open during the winter. With the ski grooming equipment that was purchased this last fall, we were able to have a packed trail through Woodlawn all winter long, so the disc golfers could play, not just for our tournament, but all winter long. It was open and accessible. So it was just providing an opportunity for people to get out and play, no matter what season it is. And There are 2 different disc golf clubs in town. There's Cast Clay Disc Golf and FM Disc Golf Club. And so they both run leagues and tournaments, and those also are drawing in people from out of town. So we do have a little bit of a tourism standpoint there. And when people from out of town come to that Frostville tournament, they're just amazed that a park district or park board would keep a disc golf course open all winter long for the people to use. So I think that's something unique we have going on in our community that not a lot of other places do. So I think that's something that our group really appreciates. Holly did mention that Midtown Trail was coming through next summer, and we were planning on putting up signage that the course will be closed during that time frame, just due to all the equipment in and out of there. We don't want people over there, so next summer it was planning on being closed while the trail was put in. So, any other questions for me right now?
Questions? Okay, so thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate the
Yeah,
information.
if you have anything else, just call on me. I can.
Yeah, no, perfect. And just to be clear on the process of this item from here, we will need a motion from someone, and whether it's move to remove the additional nets or to keep the additional nets, that motion will need to be made and seconded, which will then open up discussions, and we will start with citizens to be heard on the topic, then move to our, if any of the park board members have any discussion to add, and then we would take a vote. Hopefully I have that right, because that's how I see this playing out. So, so we will start with the request to speak, and we'll start with, I believe it's Robert Bovin, is that last name? I'm taking that from the email address on here. There's no name on the form, but I believe I got this from you back there. Oh, your email does not match your name.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Could you please, and also as a note, please start your address by stating your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Max Washneski. My address is 1161 43rd Avenue West in West Fargo, North Dakota. You good? I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of history on me real quick. I was told I only had 5 minutes. I'll do my best. But first, I'd like to thank Carson Wentz for letting me come up here. The resemblance is uncanny. You guys all see it, right? That's what I introduce him as all the time. All right, so I am an outdoor enthusiast, and I am that way because of my mom and dad. My mom and dad got me into hunting and fishing and biking and being outside. We always had dogs. We always went to the park. That's how I grew up. My dad started playing disc golf in the 70s in Michigan before the invention of the disc golf basket. Okay, they called it object golf. I moved into Fargo in the early 80s and played some object golf down at Elephant Park and got together with some guys and said, hey, we need a disc golf course in this town. And they put in Oak Grove Disc Golf Course. They put that in 1983. I just happened to be born in 1983. Coincidence. So I've been around it my entire life. I've always played disc golf. But more so than just the disc golf, I enjoy all of the amenities that the park offers, like I said, because of my mom and dad. I ride bike on all the trails, whether it's the pavement trails, whether it's the River Keeper or the Trail Builders trails along the trees. I got a golden doodle dog like everybody else, and we go to the dog park and I walk my dog. And so disc golf and outdoor activities have been just part of my life. It's what I do. Now, Jordan said he and I had worked together on the Frostville the last 5 years, and we'd always talked about expanding Woodlawn, like how can we get some more holes? What can we do here? And when he showed me the river corridor, I thought, wow, this piece of property is fantastic. It's an amazing piece of property. And I knew that it couldn't just be for one group of people. Right? We had to share that with other people. We needed to share that with the people that have dogs. We needed to share that with the people that ride bike. We needed to share that with the people that play disc golf. And so when I laid out that course, I thought about those people. I talked to a lady that really liked watching the deer and watching the fox, and I thought, okay, you know what we'll do? We will avoid a lot of areas to not disrupt those animals. I know that there were some children that played in some trees, and I left their area where they were intact. I went around those things. Right? I understand that it's a multi-use park, and I'm willing to work with a variety of people. That bike path you guys are going to put in there, that's going to draw a ton of people. Moorhead is not known for bike paths, am I right? We don't have a lot of that. I live in West Fargo, Westport Beach. I have 7 miles of continuous bike path from my house. That's pretty neat. So again, outdoor activity has always been what I've enjoyed. It's what I like to do. So I was super excited to be a part of this with Jordan. The other part to this disc golf course is that we tried to make something that was not a beginner course, right? We wanted something that was a step up. Disc golf in this town has always been relatable to like El Zagel golf course, if we have any golfers in here, right? You go to El Zagel, you bring like 3 clubs and you go play. That's how the rest of the disc golf courses in this town have been. And I was able now to create kind of like a Rose Creek. You have a destination now for people when they're coming through. If there's people coming from the Twin Cities driving past, they're going to stop here and play disc golf because that park is that nice. It's that nice of an area, and the challenge is there. So I thank you guys for letting me come up here, again, for Jordan. And lastly, if you guys have never played disc golf, if you already ride bike, if you already walk, if you already take your dog outside, if you already like those things, try to play the game. For $30, $30, you can be playing the game. And that's pretty incredible. And it doesn't matter if you're 5'7", 6'7", that guy over there. Doesn't matter. None of those things matter. Anybody can be good at the game. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope that you allow us to continue to stay in that park. Do you have any questions for me?
I think so. Thank you for your words, Max. Appreciate it and your enthusiasm. And look at that. You were 4 minutes. So without any pushing, you stayed under the limit there. So.
Well, that's because you guys didn't ask me any more questions. I allowed that. That was a 4-minute speech on purpose.
Which, and I believe, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, when a citizen addresses the board, it's not really meant to be a back and forth. It's really meant for us to gather information for you. So that's just kind of the way it's set up, just so we're not being rude or or anything like that. Sure. So
can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
So part of that redesign, and Holly had mentioned that they have that outdoor amphitheater there. So we redesigned the course so that we are no longer impacting the kids on the sledding hill in the wintertime. We moved hole 1 out into the field, so they have that area. We moved hole 2 so that people would not be throwing over the amphitheater to get out of the way, because like I said, I understand that it's a multi-use park. And I understand that everybody should have an opportunity for recreational opportunities outside. So, and we're just excited to have that space, so.
Thanks again, Max. Appreciate
Okay, thanks.
it. Let's see. We have Barry Hayner.
Hello.
Hi, Barry. Will you start by saying your name and your address?
My name is Barry Hayner. I don't know my exact address, but I know it's on 7th Street South.
Okay.
I'm here so we can take down the new Frisbee golf course. I feel like the one at Woodlawn is fine, but the one at this new area, it is a biodiverse area, and a lot of animals live there, and also a lot of kids play there, and I feel like it's just not a good place for a bunch of people to be coming in and just throwing Frisbees everywhere. I also think that Frisbee golf is a good thing just at Woodlawn Park, and we didn't need to move it all the way there.
Thank you, Barry. Next, we have Noel Harden.
Sorry, we didn't completely figure out our game plan tonight. Hi, I'm Noelle Harden. I and my son Barry, who you just met, live at 202 7th Avenue South, right in Moorhead, just one block from the current Frisbee golf course on one side and another block closed in by another Frisbee golf course. I'm really glad that we're having this hearing tonight. It would have been so wonderful to have this a month ago before the Frisbee golf course was already expanded and the nets had already gone up. Clearly, the local Frisbee golf associations have had a lot of opportunity to have their say in this matter. Unfortunately, myself or any of the other Moorhead residents who live in that community and absolutely treasure that green space were not consulted or given any heads up, in fact. But here we are tonight. So what I would love to see is a true multi-use space in that area. Right now, there's nothing but Frisbee golf nets that go right along the river. One of the tees, I don't know how many of you have been out there to look at it, but there's a tee that faces directly towards the road. So I'm looking forward to anticipating Frisbees as I'm driving by on that, fairly main intersection for, again, those of us who live in the neighborhood. It has a lot of neighborhood appeal. I'm a single mom. My son is almost done with his entire year of virtual school. Having a green space right in the neighborhood is really important for me and the other families with young children who live right there. My son feels chased out of Woodlawn Park. He's been yelled at to get out of the way of Frisbee golfers. There's habitat for all kinds of animals in that area: red fox, deer, birds. It's a unique space. Frisbee golf monopolizes that space now. I've already heard from neighbors who don't want their kids to play there, elderly people who don't want to walk there anymore. We feel unwelcome in our own community. I would love to see a better decision-making process where you would have thought about the potential conflict that this would create, again, with children, families, dog walkers, pretty much anyone who wants to use that space. And let's talk about equity for a second, too. In a 2017 study from the International Journal of Sports Communication, Frisbee golf nationwide is a demographic that is about 85% male, more than 90% white, with a mean age of 33, and people who have access to cars. Another study in 2016 from the State of Disc Golf Survey says that the average frolfer spends $400 to $500 a year on frolf. So I think we really should ask ourselves whether this is the demographic that truly has the most limited access to recreational opportunities across our Fargo-Moorhead area. I would love for us to think about equity and access when we make these decisions. There are people in this community struggling with food security who would love to have more access to community gardens.
It's been 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm at 5 minutes.
Yep.
Okay, well then, just quickly, my ask. I'd love to see at least part of the course removed. I would like to see residents and neighbors included in the decision-making process. I'd like to see a multi-use space with signage about etiquette, picnic tables, building on the natural play spaces that already exist there, rooting around the climbing tree that my son uses. There's more than one. And maybe some soccer fields for our new American youth that don't feel like they have a safe and welcome space to play soccer in the community. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Maggie Christie, who I believe is, okay, Maggie is here. Okay, perfect.
Hello, my name is Maggie Christie. My address is 1107 First Street South, just a couple of blocks from the area in question. I've resided there for over 8 years. I have often said one of my favorite things about living in Moorhead is this city's dedication to a variety of quality green spaces. Each of Moorhead's parks has its own feel, its own uses. The disc golf course in Woodlawn Park has long been a community favorite. However, the expansion of this already large course into the previously natural riverside along Elm Street has drastically altered the wooded area. When a natural space is developed, the use and environment of the space are fundamentally and irrevocably altered. Unspoiled nature, once lost, is gone. Even a low-impact sport like disc golf can drastically affect the ecology of an area, as wildlife will move away from spaces frequently used by groups of humans. Humans like myself, who have a need to connect with nature, but who live in city limits, find areas like this one a haven. I personally spent many recuperative hours along this river in quiet contemplation during the darkest times of the pandemic, and I know several of my neighbors have done the same. While the addition of a disc golf course does not automatically preclude the opportunity for a peaceful amble, it makes the space much less welcoming to those seeking quiet engagement with nature. Disc golf courses can be put in a wide array of spaces, but untouched nature can only exist where it already is, such as along Elm Street. This riparian trail offers peaceful, verdant surroundings, complete with wildlife like deer, fox, beaver, and a host of birds at proximity one would never see in a more active park area. Please understand, I have no objections to disc golf courses or disc golfers, both of which add life and fun to our wonderful city. I do, however, object to the development of an otherwise completely natural area with equipment best served elsewhere. As Woodlawn Park is currently Moorhead's major disc golf course, I advocate for the disc golf baskets in the previously natural area to be moved to a new location, giving more Moorhead residents better access to disc golf spaces, leading to a more equitable distribution of this valuable community resource. I realize I do not have all the information about what location might be more suitable, but I am confident the park board can arrive at a solution that is a better fit for our community as a whole. Please kindly consider restoring the natural riverside along Elm Street and adding more disc golf areas throughout our community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Maggie. Next we have Kalyn Hogan.
Hogan is a caller. Please hit *6 to unmute.
This is Kalyn Hogan. Are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Kalyn Hogan. I live at 111 12th Street East in West Fargo. Are you able to hear me?
Yep, we can still hear you.
Can the other caller please hit mute?
All right. Yeah, I'm hearing some background noise also. Okay, so thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Jen Walla, if you would please mute. Kalyn Hogan has the floor right now.
Yes, how do I mute?
*6.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it looks like she's muted now, so Kalyn, I'll start your timer now.
Okay, thank you. So my address is 111 12th Street East in West Fargo. My name's Kalyn Hogan, and I help run the Cass Clay Disc Golf Club, and I'm also a member of the Fargo Moorhead Disc Golf Club. And I'm here today to show support for the recent installation of the disc golf course. This course is absolutely beautiful. Like Holly said, this seems to be the perfect location. And like Max said, this is definitely a destination course that will bring people from around the whole state. We feel that a second course is absolutely necessary in Woodlawn and in this community. We're seeing explosive growth in disc golf in the past 5 years. So for example, it took from 1976 to 2016 for the PDGA, which is the Professional Disc Golf Association, to sign up its first 90,000 members. But since then, since 2016, in the last 5 years, they've signed up an additional 90,000 members. So what previously took 40 years to take place has now happened in the last 5 years because of the growth that we've seen in the sport. Now, these are just tournament players. This isn't counting all the families, kids, and people that like to play casually. These are the people that really like to compete and enter tournaments. On top of that, it was kind of mentioned earlier about the growth. Minnesota is kind of known as one of the meccas in the country for disc golf. A couple of years ago, the Twin Cities was voted as the third best metro area for disc golf in the entire country. And also, in last year, there was a private country club resort that was opening up in Clearwater, which is drawing people from around the country and is hosting national professional tournaments. Now, we've heard some mentions, some of the criticisms about one course being enough in Woodlawn. Now, the current course that they have in Woodlawn is what we would call a rec course. Like Max said, it's for beginners, it's for families, but it's not really intended for competitive disc golfers or people with professional level skills. We see that the same course in Woodlawn provides those amenities, and a lot of people feel that this new course is as good or even better than currently the best course in Fargo. So we think with a little bit of development, including the signage and things that Holly mentioned, we think this could easily be one of the best courses in the Fargo-Moorhead area and in western Minnesota. Next month, I'm going to host a 2-day tournament in Fargo that we're bringing 144 people from around the state and around the Midwest to compete. And from what I've seen from this new course, I'm already considering moving the tournament to this new course in Woodlawn next year, if it is available. One of the other criticisms that we heard was that this course, was that people were looking for a multi-use course. It sounds like the city has already addressed that in plans to make this multi-use. Another criticism we heard is that people don't want the natural beauty untouched of the course, or of the land that's being used. But again, we heard from the city that the plan is to make this a multi-use course and to develop it regardless of whether disc golf course being there or not. I do support any changes that need to be made when it comes to safety and protecting private property, but I ask that the city consider leaving this course in its current location. The beauty of this course, the variety of the terrain, and the difficulty is not something that can be easily replaced. Like Holly said, they've already reviewed other areas, and this was deemed the perfect location. I completely agree with that, and I hope you consider keeping it in its current place. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalyn. The next one, and Kalyn, if you could hit *6 to make sure that you are muted for the next person. Thank you. Where he's gone. Jen Walla. I believe you'll hit *6 to unmute. Are you still there, Jen? We'll go to, I'll keep this one on the side here. Oh, looks like she might have got unmuted. Are you there, Jen? Going once? No, not.
*6 to unmute.
Well, it looks like she's unmuted, but we're not hearing anything. We'll
maybe call in again.
Yeah, Jen, if you would call in again, we'll go to Chad Johnson, and we'll come back, see if we can get you connected before we're done here. I have Chad Johnson. Is he? Doesn't look like Chad is here, and I don't see anyone Chad on the that's calling in. So. In that case, do we typically just read the
We will just chart the comments that he brought in, like we did with the others that called in, sent in.
So I should read this one, or just read?
I would just put them with the rest, because we're not going to read the others either.
Okay, sounds good. Let's give Jen just a few seconds to see if she calls back in and gets connected here. I don't want to exclude everyone from...
There's another caller too, James Jean Sando. Maybe we take that while she's trying to connect.
Sure. Yep. So Jean Sando, if you want to hit *6 to unmute, and Looks like you're on.
Hi, this is Jean Sando.
Hi, Jean. I'll start your time now.
I live at 623 5th Street South in Moorhead. We just bought a property down the street for my mother at 219 7th Avenue. My mother just moved in off the farm, and one of the things that really attracted her to this area was the ability to walk up 7th Avenue to the dike, to make that lovely nature walk, and to see the deer, see the birds, see the foxes, see the animals. And then all of a sudden, there were these big yellow disc golf things there. And first of all, if they're going to stay, they can't be yellow. I'm sorry, can you not hear me?
No, we can hear you. I'm guessing, it looks like Jen is linked up with us now. And Jen, if you could try muting yourself, because we get a little background noise. Jen, if you'd please hit *6 to mute yourself. Are we able to mute?
You know, Jen can't mute. Why don't you let Jen go ahead? I'll mute myself, and then I'll come back when she's done.
You know what? She did get muted. I'll give you some extra time here. Okay. So if you would keep going, we should be good now. Sorry about that.
Okay, so where was I? My mother, the deer, the walk, and the green space. We use that area to picnic. We use that area just to be in a kind of a larger, tranquil space. It's been really nice. People walk their dogs down there. People walk down by the river. We walk up on the dike. And frankly, I'm not very happy about the inclusion of these new baskets. I really want to emphasize the words of my neighbor, Noelle. I think she said it really well. I think she brought you some really important facts about who this is. We've had a couple speakers advocating. They're both from West Fargo. They don't live here. They don't use this every day. I use this every day. Every day I walk down on that dike. And I drive through Woodlawn Park, not every day, 2-3 times a week, and I see people out on the golfing course there. It's never full. It's not like it was so packed up people couldn't use it. I get the point about difficulty, but the first speaker who said that he designed the course that it wouldn't disrupt the deer, one of those baskets is right where I constantly, all last summer, there was a mother deer and her 2 fawns that would come up every night into that area, right under the apple tree. And I just am really disappointed that this space is now going to be used to attract hundreds of out-of-state people to come and golf in our neighborhood. And just, where are they going to park? Are they just going to be all over? There aren't any amenities down here. There aren't any bathrooms unless you walk all the way back to Woodlawn Park. I just think this was really badly thought out, and I'm very disappointed. I really enjoyed the cross-country trails this summer. I don't have any problem with people putting in a nice bike path. But this just seems like it's really it's not a multi-use purpose thing, thinking of the people who actually live here in this neighborhood. It's being designed to attract people from out of town, from all over the state. We don't have the amenities there in that part. You have to walk a long way just to go back to Woodlawn Park to use the amenities that are there. As far as what good does that do the people who live in this neighborhood, now we have increased traffic. And it's not like there are restaurants or anything in this area that are going to benefit from that, not right down here in Woodlawn Park. I'm not against frolfing, but we have a course already. If they need a more difficult course, maybe they can make the Woodlawn Park course more difficult. I don't know anything about it, so except that I really think these things are an eyesore. Every night I've walked since they've gone up, I have not seen a single deer, not one. And I used to see them every single night. And I loved that tranquility and that greenness and that ability to just go out and relax and also to feel safe, because there weren't a lot of people using this space. And now we're going to have a lot of people using this space. My mom is really sad too, because she just bought this house and was looking forward to still having some green space. So I'm asking you to remove them and reconsider your plan so that it incorporates more families with more diversity of age and also gender. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. We appreciate your comments. Jen, let's try again. Jean, okay, looks like Jean got muted. Jen, hit *6 to unmute. Looking good.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, excellent. I will start your time. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yes. Sorry about the disruption earlier. The video on your live stream and what I could hear on my phone were not in the same timing, and so I was getting really confused about what was happening. And I have a child care, and so there's a lot of background noise. I live at 502 4th Street South in Moorhead, and I have a small home child care at my house, and we're right across the street from Woodlawn Park, and go there every day to play. And we often head over to the Riverside Park area to go play in the shade by the trees, where it's a little bit more sheltered from the wind on windy days like today. And because the kids love getting over close to the river, and to the more wild space. And so I think frisbee golf is really cool. My kids love watching the golfers, and we've often had positive interactions, at least, or neutral interactions where people have been polite or waited patiently as we're walking past them through. But we've also had a number of really unpleasant interactions where the kids and I have gotten yelled at to get out of the way when I was paying attention to the kids and not paying attention to somebody who was coming along frisbee golfing, and that we were in the way of them getting to a hole. This year we've been sworn at twice, my child care children and me, for being in the way of a hole. We've been having picnics underneath a climbing tree and in the shady part of the park, and have been asked to pick up and move so that somebody can get to their disc golf hole. And so my biggest thought about it is not don't have frisbee golf, but there needs to be a building of education for mutual respect that it is a shared use space. Because I have not seen people in the neighborhood being disrespectful to frisbee golfers, but I, with my own child, I, with my child care, and many of my friends who have children who live in the neighborhood have had similar experiences. And that is my biggest concern about more frisbee golf. I also think that area could be developed, or could be used in this wild space that already exists for more education about foraging, about edible and medicinal wild plants that are in the area. I know the Audubon Society already has some wildlife connections in that area and uses it for some of that. And I would like that to not be disrupted. Like Jean, we have also seen deer almost every night for the 6 years that I've lived in the neighborhood. And I've seen them once since I saw the frisbee golf courses go up. I went for a walk one night and saw the frisbee golf holes. I was like, what's going on? I haven't heard anything about this. And so, yeah, I would really like conversations with the neighbors to find out what the needs of the community right around here is. And I would like there to be more development of mutual respect for everybody. And I can't be on the phone with the child care any longer. So thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Jen. And Kate, looks like she's disconnected, so we should have the clean channel or whatever. Okay. Well, I'd just like to start off by saying appreciate everyone's input and for the citizen interaction here and having opinions heard. That's part of what we need to do on something like this. Next, I would like to hear, or I would open it up for discussion from the park board members. And you know what? We never actually did a motion, did we? We just started taking.
You know,
my
that's
bad,
okay because we
procedurally.
started discussion before me discussing before
Yeah.
the motion was fine too. So
Okay.
we'll see if there is a motion.
So, and at this point, if we're going to get into our discussion, I would actually suggest that a motion.
Yeah, then
be
people can
made.
react to that
If
motion.
someone would make a motion to either keep the additional nets or to remove the additional nets, I believe then we'd have a motion, a second, and then we can go into our discussion. And then once discussion's finished, we can have a vote.
Based on what we've heard this evening from our community members, there are so many positive things that we also heard from a disc golf perspective. However, my motion is to remove the baskets from Woodlawn, and I would like discussion surrounding that.
I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to remove the additional nets, and we'll open it up to discussion. Who'd like to kick us off?
I guess I can. I like the idea of the additional nets. Maybe the way it went out was approached was wrong. Maybe there should have been some public notification or thought process, kind of like we did with the dog parks or something in South Moorhead. Would have been great. I used to frisbee golf, so I like the addition of a harder course too. I think it will help bring more attraction business downtown. I think there's a lot of positive in that way, not to mention, as we heard previously, there's a possibility of getting more people in Moorhead in that sense. It certainly can help or hurt us as a city to gain that extra tourism dollars as well. I think it's a shared space, and if it's not as busy as Woodlawn is, I don't know, it's just a matter of people working with people and being normal and kind and generous to one another, whatever you want to say. I think it's a great idea, and I like it. I think maybe we should approach it in a better fashion than what we did.
Well, Max, I'm gonna give you my credentials so that we can. I started playing disc golf probably in the 90s, and I played in the one season. I played in the Minnesota Frisbee Association tournament, and I was an amateur. And I think basically you had to play in 4 tournaments, and I think 3 of us played in 4 tournaments. So I got ranked in the state of Minnesota. I was ranked 3rd as an amateur at that time. I used to play a lot, and in fact, I was elected to the council the first time in 1997, and that's when disc golfers approached the city to do it, and I stood before the council and I said, yes, you got to do this. I mean, this is a good idea. And so but what I'm going to say is I'm going to vote against it. And I understand what you're saying here is that the courses are pretty Elzagle type. I understand that. And it's I want to say the topography here, you can't. I mean, I was telling Laura here, and I'm glad my dad wasn't playing with me when I played in Acorn Park down in Roseville, Minnesota, when you had to go up a hill and to the right. And my vocabulary wasn't very nice at that time. But I think the trouble is that when you go to Woodlawn Park, you can see the number of disc golfers at any time and how popular it is, but you cannot see the people walking in the green space because they're hidden over the dike. Your comments about trying to accommodate those, I thought that was wonderful, but there is that term about a forest bathing now. In 20 minutes in a forest reduces the stress and so on. I mean, I want to say, as a former disc golfer, I was just like, I would have voted for this, yes. And then, but when kind of the public and so on, it's like going through the trails that the trail builders build and those sort of things. It's just refreshing, and it's like, I want to give it back to those neighbors. So, sorry.
Discussion?
And I can piggyback on what Larry is sharing. This is Janelle on WebEx here, and I am an avid outdoor enthusiast myself, and I can really appreciate the enthusiasm that has come forth from the disc golf club, and really wanting to pump up the number of individuals that engage in this sport in our community and bring in tourism. I really appreciate those points. At the end of the day, green spaces are for the people, and giving them back to the people in the many multi-use ways that we can, from the little ones to the big, the adults and our elders. And what Noelle shared really did speak to me, and I really appreciate that additional deep dive into the demographic, where we can really have the opportunity to engage in some equity in our green spaces for our bikers, walkers, kids, adults, those with mobility issues. Whereas it would appear that if one is engaging in disc golf, they may have at baseline potentially more resources available to get in and engage in that single type of outdoor activity. So while I, much like Larry said, while I very much encourage everybody to get outside and get involved, and it's why I love being part of the park board, I do agree with the neighbors and those that live within that area that the best way to serve all is to have reverence for our natural spaces, for the ecosystem that is already there, along with the fragile ecosystem of communities, and respect and honor those wishes as well. So I am in favor of removal of the baskets.
I don't know if I have a lot to add to what's been said. I too used to play some disc golf and have enjoyed it. And on the surface, it looked really great to have a new course put in. But I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to represent our Moorhead community and the neighbors who live there. And if they're telling us that this is not something that they're excited about, I mean, there have been some that have said, I appreciate having this so that my kids have something to do, they're not getting in trouble. So I appreciate that too. But I would say, let's look at, is there another place that we can put this so we don't just give up on it altogether?
I do appreciate the ingenuity that our park staff took in utilizing the former baskets and the hockey rink materials. I also appreciate the intent to increase disc golf usage and increasing participation in a challenging course. Where I struggle is, like those here with me today, is with the voice of our community members, and I would like to see that us take this up as an issue and to further what Laura said, for study, so that we can look and engage the community in different parts of Moorhead and increase the advancement of the disc golf. So make it more difficult, advance disc golf course. Thank you.
Yeah, I used to live on First Street South in Moorhead and spent a lot of time in the river corridor space that we've been discussing. And to kind of echo a few of the points that have been brought up, I would vote to relocate the newly placed disc golf course as well.
And I don't believe I end up having a vote on this unless there's a tie, which I believe we have 5 votes, so that doesn't seem likely. And even based on what we've heard here, I don't think that a tie is likely. But, my thoughts were kind of one, that this was something that was relocated from another space that's now a more natural. So, and part of this, even though it looks like the vote's going to go one way, I really appreciate Holly and her team's work on this. And there were a lot of considerations, obviously, when it comes to why this site was, selected to expand. And so anyway, so we do still have open area. We have right now 22 miles of river corridor area that has nothing on it that besides a path, and we're going to be expanding that another 4 miles. So I do feel like there is a lot of area, thankfully, because it is great to have this untouched, natural area to enjoy peacefully. So I think this tiny sliver, in my opinion, in Moorhead, we constantly hear that we don't have enough amenities for kids to get out and do things. And this was a very inexpensive, low impact. I felt it was a great use of the space. It's obviously a popular sport, as has been identified here tonight. If you look at the support the opinion of just Moorhead, by my tally, based on the petition and the website submissions, in just Moorhead, and there may be more, there's 43 in support and 16 oppose. So if we're going based off of what the citizens of Moorhead are telling us, technically there's much stronger support for the new nets than there is opposition. I think, the considerations in design, I think, when it comes to the equitable portion, I think we have a lot of different types of facilities in Moorhead. We have disc golf, we have an amazing soccer complex, we have basketball. I mean, we do have a variety of options for people to utilize our facilities, and I think that's a strength of our community. So I do struggle a little bit with the idea that we are creating inequity by putting up extra nets in one small area, but again, that's my opinion. And I have a last note here, but I can't read my own handwriting, so. With that, if there's any more discussion, we can hear it, but yeah, go ahead.
Is there a tournament that you guys can get in? I mean, before they, is there a timeline where you have to remove these? I mean, do you want them out like next week, or can we leave them up through? Do you have a tournament that you might want to use it? I mean, when is this tournament?
Sure.
Okay.
I do recall my last point was going to be is that if you notice on the comments of oppose, several, or I didn't count, but at least several of them, and I think most people expressed that they love disc golf and they think it's fine to have disc golf, just not here. Well, I will promise you that when we look at other locations and we pick one, it'll be the same story. Anytime you put a new amenity anywhere, no matter how great it is or how mediocre it is, there's going to be a subset who don't want it in my backyard. And I understand that, but at the same time, our parks are meant to serve, especially a park like this, that is not, a neighborhood park, right? It's meant to serve the community. So I personally struggle with a little bit with that, but that's my opinion. And I do value everyone's opinion and I do value everyone's input. But Just wanted to put that out there. So with that, if there's no further discussion, I would say it'd probably be worthwhile just do a roll call vote since we know it'll be a split,
Yep.
at least somewhat of a split vote.
Yeah. I think do roll call vote.
Nell Brandon.
Janelle, you're muted, or we're not hearing you for whatever reason.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So can you set up the what I'm roll call voting for or against? Can you just
yes. Okay,
key
that's
that
a
back
good
up
point
again
anyway.
so I can?
So the motion that was made was to remove the additional nets placed in the park. So if you vote yes, you are voting to remove the additional nets. If you vote no, you are voting to leave them.
Okay. Thank you. Just to make sure that we were teeing it up correctly here going first. So my vote is yes.
Barry Seljevold.
Aye.
Laura Caroon.
Sorry, she doesn't. As an alternate, you don't.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Valerie Ritland. James Hand. Oh, and you don't.
Nay.
Basha McDougall.
Nay.
Gia Rossier.
Yes.
Lindsay Shunak.
Yes.
With that, I believe that's all right. The motion passes and the nets will be removed, right? So, all right. Well, thank you everyone for being a part of that process, and hopefully everyone felt heard and we can move on. We still have a lot to get through, so we're going to try to be efficient with our time, but the next item on the agenda is item number 7, which is an update on the COVID-19 return to normal. It's the information only from Holly.
You know, there's not really much on this agenda item. It's just to tell you that we're back to full capacities, back to full strength, and that we are not requiring masks. Baseball's going, the numbers are up. But with swimming, it is a pleasure to announce we were going to have to do a lot of modifications to get it 50%. So the changes really switched our programming around and allowed us to involve a lot more people. So if there's any questions about that. Okay.
Move to item number 8, recommendation capital improvement requests for the 2022 budget. Holly, Steve, and Mike, you want to present? And hopefully everyone had sufficient time to review this. And we'll take whatever time we need if the members have questions, but yeah, take it away, Holly.
Okay, this, the first sheet is the 2022 capital improvement plan request. Basically, a lot of you guys are new, so what the park board does by your resolution is you make recommendations for the city manager to look at and then submit for the 2022 budget to the city council. They will be spending the summer looking at those things, so this is the list that staff have put together with priorities, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and we have them in order of priority of what we would like to see. There's this capital improvement request. Alongside with that is a request in what we call the CI for $250,000 to fix existing things that may come up over the years. If something breaks, if a swing set needs replacing, if a roof starts leaking. But we still try to identify projects from the CI that could be funded with that $250,000. So that's what that 2020 $250K Park Amenities Fund, that amounts to $250,000, and that matches the $250,000 and the CI request that we tried to get. So with that, it's a lot of the repairs, but then some only $20,000 left open for miscellaneous repairs. If we end up having more, some of these items may not be fixed to accommodate. Say we have a bank of lights go out, or it's existing amenities. And the last a piece attached to this is the playground assessment. We keep track of the year they were installed, do inspections regularly. Mike and I and Steve Moore went around to every park and made a spreadsheet of existing conditions. With that, we review that list to see what we can, the improvements that were suggested at that time be added to this. We also look at what leftover money we may have had from the year previous, so that we can complete some of these projects, but this playground list tells you which ones we would like when we're looking at them for replacement. So in 2021, we have Romkey listed, for example. That, Mike, you've got that ordered, right? Or I think you muted yourself. There you go.
That'll be installed here probably, I'm guessing.
So that identifies which one of those parks will be done. And you'll go up and you'll see 2022 is Gooseberry. We've had a request to add some swings to Hamptons lately. Allison looks like that's getting recommended for some changes in 2022 also. So our existing playgrounds, we try to really review the amenities needed for those. The last piece in this packet is the strategic initiatives. These are the items that are really too big to even put onto a capital improvement list. We get $2 million a year in capital improvements for the whole city. And so this list includes the renovations for our pool. That's a 1958 pool. It's what we are calling reimagining Romkey. It's doing a master plan of that park to try to change and renovate it so that college students want to go there and people want to go there. And so what that looks like is maybe adding a splash pad, maybe adding 2 sand volleyball nets so they can have competitions, and those sorts of things. When we take a park like that and do a park master plan, you know, we would look to talk to the neighborhood and see what they would want. Not just the immediate neighborhood, but out to the college campuses there that are in close proximity. Installing all new park signs. If you've ever seen our park signs, they're in desperate need of upgrading and updating their old wooden gray signs. Southside Regional Park, an inclusive playground. We have a community group working hard, and along with city money, we're at $100,000. But we've been at this for a couple of years, and our goal, you know, the price is $1 million. So, you know, I don't know that we're going to get there without an influx of money from another funding source. Install 60 parking spots with parking lights. When we get the new playground, we also are growing out of our space. We had overflow parking over by the recycling, if you've ever been there. That space is now turned over to development, and so those spots will not be available. So you will hear about parking when we have our summer soccer tournament. To get the grandstand finished and the parking lot rehabbed at Matson is on this list. Add a neighborhood rec center at Stone Mill, something that is a need due to the amount of kids that live in that area. The neighborhood rec centers have summer park programs all around the city, but we haven't put any in since 1980. So that would be something that we're recommending over at Stone Mill. And then a large picnic shelter at Southside Regional Park, championship turf at Southside Regional Park. These are things that are much too large to fund in this manner. So would you ask yourself, what are other funding sources? The city would need to make a determination on whether they would bond for it, whether they would go to sales tax. There is a sales tax initiative that is before the legislature. Minnesota legislature has to approve, but that particular one is for a new library. And it says community center. The community center may be more passive than the community center, like what we would be talking about would be strictly like the Rusted Center in West Fargo, more athletic, more indoor pickleball, some of those types of things. Some of that may fit if that sales tax goes through, I know, but things they've listed though are senior center, more passive sort of community center type things. So these are the items and how they're laid out. The question would be, after you guys gave them a good review, are there changes or things you would like to add to this list, and then at what priority, add or subtract, and at what priority? This is staff's work on the budget that Steve Iverson and Mike have been instrumental, along with Forrest Steinhoff from planning. The four of us developed the plan. Mike and Steve, do you have anything to add? No.
Right. Thank you, Holly. Does anyone here have anything that they'd like to suggest? Any changes, thoughts, suggestions?
The paving the hockey rink for rollerblades, is that really that big of a demand for people doing that in Morningside Park?
They are doing it, and it's a request that comes to us often to utilize the inside of that space to play hockey in the summer with rollerblades.
Is it the same people? I mean, is it
That play hockey, yeah.
I mean, is it five people that just keep repeating it, or is it, you know, you get
It's a
different
lot of
people all the time?
coaches and a lot of development people. You know, a lot of folks who think they could keep up their skills in the summer and yet appreciate outside. Would also make our hockey ice more level in the winter. Mike, Steve, anything you have to add to that one?
Just a quick question on that. There's no usage otherwise of the space in the summertime?
No.
Correct? Okay. And it wouldn't impact the wintertime hockey rink? Okay.
Only positively, it sounds like.
It would make it better, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Else? All right. Well, thank you for all the work that goes into this. And you know, I'm certainly one who in general, you know, you guys are the one fielding the calls and making the judgments on this. And nothing stuck out to me that didn't make any sense or didn't make sense. So I appreciate you guys' work on this. And with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the 2022 capital improvement plan request.
I make a motion to approve the 2022 improvement list.
So move. Second, sorry. Wrong order.
We've got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. I gotta be more patient on the all opposed. Okay, let's go to the Village Green, item number 9, the bathroom hole 13 Village Green golf course update.
This is more of an FYI, and the guys can chime in again here if we have been trying to get this project done with the approval in 2018, funding approved in the 2019 budget. And the funding was not enough for what the local bid was to construct it from bricks and you know, just to get somebody in to build it. So the thought is that we would bring a prefabricated cinder block or brick building in and lift it onto a pad, and that would be a much cheaper way to provide a bathroom. With that, a company was hired, a couple were looked at, and we took the lowest bid, and then COVID hit, and it took them a while to make it in their shop, but then they didn't have the right building codes, and there was one thing after another, bringing this building that was already constructed out of South Dakota and putting it on our slab due to what seemed like a lot of reasons that I'm not sure if it was legitimate or not. We checked with our building codes and they said some of them are legitimate. So finally, we just both asked in about January when our new facilities person came on, Anthony Manzella, it was just time to be done. It's 2021 and we have no building. It's been sitting in the warehouse for a year and a half. And so we entertained bids from local contractors to construct one on site, with the building costs being 3 times what they normally are now and so forth. We're looking for, we asked council on Monday for a budget adjustment to pay the extra money. It all comes out of what's called course improvement fees set apart by golfers for bathrooms. They see the slab there. They've wanted this bathroom for 3 years. And it is the project that just never goes away. But we've hired a firm who is true to their word, and they're going to be out there doing this project. But we do have citizens who live on the home call often about this. Where is the bathroom? And we have porta potties. They don't want porta potties outside their doors. So.
And I would add that the idea to go to a prefabricated precast structure and have it delivered and set was a great idea. It's something that can work really well. We had communicated a little bit, a while ago on this, and I was hoping to try and help a little bit because it's kind of my industry, and it actually kind of baffles me how poorly that played out. And I don't think that's anyone from the city or from Parks that did anything wrong or messed that process up. It just, we
certainly appreciate that because it's been a struggle.
And then the perfect storm, of course, of building materials and labor just skyrocketing right now. So it just, I don't know, from my perspective, you guys certainly don't have pie on your face from that. That's just unfortunate circumstances and bad timing. So just wanted to chime in a little bit on that.
Well, thank you.
Wouldn't the manufacturer try to make that building to comply with our codes then, being it's on them to build it? Or are they just not willing to work in that sense?
I don't know if that was a rookie salesperson. He kept saying it's coming. Mike, you worked with it some. Anthony, who isn't here, worked with it the most along with Paul. They kept leading us to believe we're going to get you a ship day by the end of the week. We're going to get a ship day by the end of the month. And it just was one of those. And James called the head of the company as a construction manager. We said, any help we could use. And they just couldn't. This particular company that still advertises in all the Parks and Rec magazines and all the places selling their products, it just couldn't finish.
I don't know if so the main company purchased this other company who specializes in precast bathrooms and that type of deal, where the other company does all sorts of precast and large projects. I don't know if there was some issue in that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We tried they gave us the plans. They wanted done with it also. They gave us the plans to go to another prefabricated place, but they were behind and no workers with COVID, so they told us it would be a year or more before they could fabricate that same thing.
And they had pictures, like they had it built.
Yeah, it was sitting in their warehouse. Yeah.
So anyway.
For a year, we saw the picture. This is yours.
Yeah, it's truly bizarre.
So,
but glad to see it moving forward.
Yes.
Did it get approved then at council then
Yes.
to the budget adjustment?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good to see that get finished because, I live by that course and I actually hear about that occasionally, like what's going on there. So I'm glad to see that'll get.
Want to make a note that it's lucky number 13.
Yeah. Lindsay.
Yeah. That's what we should name that bathroom
Yeah.
unofficially.
Lucky 13. That name may be taken, but we can change it a little.
Okay, so that was for information only. There's no vote to be had on there unless there's any other questions. We'll move on to item number 10. Moorhead Award Committee representation. Holly, if you want to talk about what this committee is, they're asking for a representative from this board to serve on the committees. If you want to talk
On the
about
selection committee.
Yeah.
This is a recognition award. I think we brought this to you guys last time to talk about, and they're just looking for somebody who would, I think the materials are kind of self-explanatory. I'm trying to remember here how many times a year. We'd like to hold the first review meeting in June, at which review teams would be selected. June, July, and August. So I think they're just looking for somebody who would want to pick an individual organization and be part of a team to give out a fun sort of award.
And can you expand a little bit on what the award is for? Who's applying for anything like that? That might help.
It's for,
determine if someone's
to acknowledge individuals who go above and beyond to demonstrate community within our city by their actions and service. That's pretty much it. It's, and it was proposed by a citizen group that they wanted to have a more heart award to bring that forward.
Does that jump out at anyone specifically who'd like to be a part of that?
I think they want nominations too from the community. So if anybody knows anybody that fits the criteria going above and beyond for Moorhead, then you can nominate also, but.
I would be willing to serve on the committee.
Perfect. Unless anyone wants to arm wrestle her for it. I don't know if I make that appointment, or if we have to make a motion, or if we just.
No.
All right. Congratulations. You are our representative on the committee.
Thank you.
Moving forward with item 11, information update, and if there's any other, if there's anything on the information updates that anyone wants more information on, feel free to ask. But Holly, if you want to run down the list and go from there, I guess. Or the suggestion there that you've got it in your info packet. If there's anything that you saw that you have questions on, let's go that route.
Yeah.
If there's anything, since it's 5:30 almost, if there's anything on that list that you have more questions about or would like us to expand on, now's the time to request that. Otherwise, we will move on to adjourn.
One of the items is the spraying of herbicide in the park, and that is a little bit of a change. So I guess I would just like to make sure that if you get called on that, that you guys are aware of that. Steve, maybe you want to just tell them a little bit about what your process is going to be for the herbicides in the park.
I guess the short answer is the two people to my left know about this, obviously, because on May 10th, we were directed to no longer apply herbicides, basically dandelion control, to park areas. And we define that as basically playgrounds. The athletic fields, right-of-ways, things of that nature we're still treating, but we've ceased all herbicide applications in the park proper, around playgrounds and in the neighborhood parks. As time goes on, we're hoping to, I discovered a company in Colorado that's on the verge of having a patent or the EPA approval of some natural dandelion control. They thought they'd probably have it ready to roll out this time next year, but that doesn't do us any good this year. But that's kind of the long and the short of it, that we're no longer treating dandelions in neighborhood parks.
Which I'm kind of curious to see, and I followed this discussion a little bit, but not, as much as maybe I should have. But, and I'm curious to see how much of an issue that becomes to be. Where if I've had a backyard before that was a backyard with a park, a neighborhood park, and I've had neighbors that don't maintain their weeds, and there's natural and herbicide ways to do it. And that can be a real stickler when you're trying to keep the weeds off of your lawn and the adjacent property, whether it's a park or a residence, is overrun with dandelions or other weeds. So I'm interested to hear if we get complaints on that as the summer goes on. If we don't, that's great. But I would invite any comments we get there. I know personally when I had my backyard to a park, or when I've had neighbors that don't address that, it can be quite frustrating. But we'll see. If it works and it's not an issue, fantastic. But just so from my point of view, I'd like to, if you're getting complaints or compliments, I'd like to hear those. at this. And then from those, if we need to suggest a recommendation, I assume they can still be made to council if we are having issues. If we're not, great, but anyway, my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, we're interested too.
Yeah, I bet. In real quick, the scooter rental program, I was a little intrigued by
Okay,
the status of that, and then
it's going to be awesome.
yeah, yeah, it seems like it.
Shelley Dahlquist was over with hers today. It's kind of like the bike share. That's what the bottom line is, that you kind of register for $1 and you ride the scooter, and then you put it back in one of the locations, and then your time stops. But anybody who's familiar with bike share, it's just electric scooter rental.
In general, is council supportive of it? Because it seems like there's an ask there maybe of making sure that the scooter company doesn't run into.
I think the ask was a franchise agreement, a signature on an agreement to enter into with a company to provide them. There's a lot of talk about safety and so forth at the meeting last night, but they showed some safety records, and I'll let the council members speak.
Well, since they're going to operate on a right-of-way, they have to have a franchise agreement. So that franchise agreement is being written. and
Okay.
we'll go.
So that's the status of that. The agreement's being written. It'll come at a future council meeting and be approved.
And I think there was a couple that opposed it, but I think it'll pass, and we'll see what happens.
Cool. No, that's exciting. That'll be a neat deal for City of Moorhead to have available. So, all right. Anything else? All right. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, for the call for public art right on First Avenue, right, is it River Haven? That's where the proposal for a public art is going to be. And apparently there is a number, there's quite a few people that have submitted.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Kim's in charge. Kim's helping us today. She's helping Hope with the park board. So is there any update on how many submissions we have?
No, but the deadline is the end of the month, so May 31st at midnight. So everyone, encourage all of your artist friends to submit a work of art for consideration. And did you want a park board member to volunteer to be on that art review team?
I forgot about that.
Huh.
We were supposed to be asking.
Okay.
There's so much time in between meetings, I forget these details.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to serve on the art review board? I'm on it. It's fun. It doesn't take a lot of time, and you can join me.
I'd be happy to help.
Okay. Lindsay Shonak. Okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I always forget if we need to move to adjourn, if I just adjourn.
You
this
do
one.
need to make a motion to.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Oh. All right. We've got a motion, a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All oppose. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.